Then I'll go ahead and call the meeting of the February 6th, 2025 TRPA Hearings Officer meeting to order at 2 p.m. My name is Marcia Birch, and I will be serving as the hearings officer today. The first item on the agenda is approval of the agenda, and I'll just ask staff if there have been any changes to the agenda.
There have not been any changes to the agenda.
All right, seeing none, I will approve the agenda as posted. And we'll move on to public interest comments for no action. Any member of the public who wishes to address the hearings officer on any item that is not listed as a public hearing item on the agenda may do so at this time. Public comments on any public hearing item will be taken at the time that item is heard. The hearings officer is prohibited by law from taking immediate action on or discussing issues raised by the public that are not listed on the agenda. So Jessica, I'll ask you to see if anyone in the room has a public interest comment.
Okay, if anybody would like to comment, now is your time. You can address the hearings officer. There are no hands raised to comment, Marcia.
All right, so let's go ahead and check online.
If any member of the public online would like to address the hearings officer, please raise your hand now by clicking on the raised hand button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. There are no hands raised to comment.
All right, thank you. I will close the public interest comments portion of the hearing and announce appeal rights. Any decision of the hearings officer is appealable to the TRPA governing board. The notice of appeal, which can be found on TRPA's website, and associated fees must be filed within 21 days of the hearings officer's decision. All right, so we'll go ahead and move on to the public hearing items. We have two items on the agenda today, and we will start with item 5A. That's the Lee Land Capability Challenge, 8642 Victoria Drive, El Dorado County, California. Assessor's parcel number 016-151-019. TRPA file number LCAP 2024-0284. And this is Julie Roll's item.
Hi, yes. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hi, this is Julie Roll, Senior Planner with TRPA. As Marcia said, this is a capability challenge, which was reviewed by soils consultant Marshall Munnicky. And based on her field evaluation, staff recommends changing the land capability from Class 3 to Class 6. Marshall's not able to join us today, so I'm just going to give a brief summary of the findings, which are also found in the staff report. So the property is located south of Meeks Bay and was mapped as having the Meeks soil type, which is described as having more than 35% rock fragments and a root restrictive silica cemented layer between 41 and 71 inches. The soil found on the property has very few rock fragments and no restrictive layer, so it's not a Meeks soil. There are no stream environment zones or bedrock outcrops. So the soil is unlike any mapped in the 1974 soil survey. So it's called a XXX soil and becomes Class 6 based on slopes of less than 16%. So that's all I have. And I'll let you know I have not received any public comment on this item. And I think we have Gary Furamoto online representing the owner. And I'm happy to answer any questions to it.
All right, thank you, Julie. I don't have any questions at this point, but I would like to hear from Gary.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Birch. My name is Gary Furamoto, and I have reviewed the staff report and also met with Marshall Munnicky at the site during the logging of the test pit. And we agree with the findings of Marshall and the findings that are in the staff report, and we have no further comment. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Gary. All right, so I will go ahead and open this up for public comment. Jessica, if there's anyone in the room.
If anybody would like to comment on this item, please raise your hand now and we will call on you to comment. There are no hands raised in the room. So I'll go
Okay.
online. If any member online would like to comment on this item, please raise your hand now by clicking on the raise hand button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. There are no hands raised to comment.
Thank you, Jessica. So I will close the public hearing on this item and take action. I will approve the land capability challenge as presented in the staff report. And
Thank you, Ms. Birch.
Thank you. And we can go on to item 5B. So this is the Raw LLC Single Family Residential Rebuild, 1713 Lakeshore Boulevard, Incline Village, Washoe County, Nevada. APN 130-331-14. TRPA file number ERSP 2024-1388. And this is Jennifer Self's item.
Hi, thank you, Marcia. Jennifer Self, for the record, Principal Planner with TRPA. I will be the TRPA issuing planner on this permit. The plan and proposed project was reviewed by Arlo Stockham as a third-party expedited review. The applicant is proposing demolition and reconstruction of a lakefront single-family dwelling. It is before the hearings officer today because it is considered a special use. The original existing residence was constructed in 2005 and was approved at a hearings officer at that time. Because the project has expanded, the scope of what was issued in the past is coming back to the hearings officer today. So staff would recommend that the hearings officer make the required findings and approve the proposed project. Would you like me to go into more detail of the project description and what was included in the staff summary?
I believe that we have some public comments on this item, so I would say go ahead and summarize what you have in the staff report.
Okay, sounds good. Jessica, do you mind advancing the slide? Thank you. This is just for context and showing the project's location. The subject parcel is shown there highlighted in blue, and you can see it's located along Highway 28 on East Shore Drive of Incline Village. The property slopes downward from Highway 28 to the lake. The proposed project would be a new 5,304 square foot residence. The home retains most of the existing building footprint and the lakefront deck area, and there's small expansions to the north and to the east. The existing garage and downstairs living area is expanded to include an enclosed entry, stairway, and enclosed bridge connecting to the main residence. The project design, just for to note, is similar to a newer home on the adjoining site just to the south that was approved in 2015. The parcel is 9,733 square feet size. It is verified as Class 1A and Class 1B. There is no new coverage being created. The Class 1A coverage is mostly retained with minor relocations. And there is a small amount being permanently retired as part of this project for mitigation within Class 1B. There's 41 square feet being retired. The use of the coverage from the 1B that's being relocated is proposed in less sensitive area further from the lake. The building height is meets the TRPA code at 42 feet, which is the maximum allowable. The conditions require enhanced erosion control between the construction site and Lake Tahoe. The site along this stretch of highway is known for some challenges with erosion control. So the property will also receive water quality best management practices, which will be reinstalled, and a new certificate issued with the project. As noted, it's visible from the shoreline and then also from the highway corridor. So there is no scenic viewpoints within the immediate vicinity of the project. These areas are in attainment. Let me see if there's anything other to note. Let me make a note regarding the reason the project is before the hearings officer, which is because it is a special use. The proposed project is located within an existing residential neighborhood. The surrounding land uses include single-family dwellings and vacant parcels. The proposed building renovation and addition size and height are consistent with the surrounding uses, and the proposed project is located within an existing residential neighborhood with structures of similar size and scale. So those 2 points were the required findings that are needed to be made with the project. And Jessica, if you don't mind just scrolling through the slides here. This is an existing view of the residence that's on the property today, and if we can keep going through. This is the existing building footprint. As noted, the new residents will essentially be using a very similar building footprint. You can scroll through. This is the existing today. This is the view going from the lakeshore. And this is the new proposed residence on that property. There, just to note, there is an approved pier project. That's a separate TRPA permit. So that pier project has been approved, but not yet constructed. And that's just showing the proposed building footprint and the BMPs that are going to be put in as part of this project.
right.
And Marcia, as you commented, there were 2 public comments received on the project. Should I go ahead and summarize those, or how would you like to address them?
Yeah, I would say let's summarize them, and then I would like to hear about, I know that one was from the Nevada Division of State Lands. And it looks like that has been adequately responded to, but I wanted to know if there was any follow-up with state lands on that item.
Sure thing. Yeah, I'll start with the Nevada Division of State Lands. That was the first comment letter that we received on February 4th. The letter from State Lands, Jessica, actually, if you could scroll back a few slides. Not necessarily in any opposition to the project. Let's go back just a few more to the map. There we go. Little hard to see on this, but the parcel that is adjacent to the north of this project is owned and managed by Nevada Division of State Lands. This is an urban lot and it is used for purposes of water control and then also for open space. The comment letter received from Nevada Division of State Lands was just making us aware that this parcel exists and to make sure that any construction, staging, access, and parking for construction purposes did not utilize this lot. So TRPA staff did respond to Nevada Division of State Lands. We do think it'd be a good idea just to add a condition within the permit asking for a construction plan regarding construction, staging, and access. The staging area has already been noted, that's required on the TRPA application review plan set. And the consultant is here, Corinne. I've spoken with her about what is planned as far as construction, staging, and access. It seems like they do have an adequate plan moving forward, so we would just require that as a condition to have that in writing. So that would be the comment letter number 1.
Okay,
Any questions there, or should I go into the second comment letter?
have you heard anything back in response from state lands?
State Lands was supportive of the added permit condition, and it seemed to be sufficient for their comment.
All right, thank you. And we can move on to the second comment letter.
Okay, the second comment letter was received by Jeanette and John Finley. I believe they are neighbors living within the area. Jessica, do we know if they've joined online?
Are they, is that Jeanette?
Yes,
Alex?
Jeanette.
Okay, Jeanette is online.
So Marcia, just to let you know that the folks that commented on this are online. The comment letter we received today about 12:30 with some questions regarding the lake views being obstructed from their property. They also had some questions regarding the plan for contractor parking and staging. A question regarding the sewer easement, making sure that sewer service would not be impacted for their property. And then there is also some discussion about some past damage that was done to their parking pad regarding past construction.
All right, so I think what I would like to do, and I would like to hear from the I'll ask you this, Jen, have you gotten any additional comments since these arrived today?
I have not received any additional comments, no.
Okay, okay. So I think what I would like to do is hear from the applicant's representatives, and maybe we can go into some answers to the questions raised in that second comment letter.
Sure,
Do you need a copy of the letter?
I have it in front of me.
Okay,
This is Corinne Hoyda, Basin Strategies. I am the land use consultant for the owners of the property, and we also have legal representation online, I believe, and I think she'll probably speak as well, but I can briefly run down these comments that were recently received. As far as the proposed sky bridge eliminating lake views from the carriage house, so just for context, the home that we're discussing, the complaints or the concerns are from the neighbor immediately to the south. I think if you look at that other view from the lake, you can
If you go to
see
the next slide, I think. That one.
that home on the right, that's right, that's the one that this email is from. So with regard to the sky bridge affecting the views from their carriage house apartment, that's my understanding is that apartment is on the street side of their home, so significantly impacted lake views from their own residents as well. And this home, they impact each other with lake views, but they each have substantial lake views, being lakefront properties. And the project is designed in conformance with TRPA scenic requirements, and so we're hoping that will be sufficient to address that comment. With regard to contractor parking and construction staging, so far, yeah, on the plans, we do have a plan to stage construction in the garage. The existing garage is to remain, and so and it won't be changed other than, I mean, the interior of the garage itself is going to remain, so it'll be a good staging area. And then also the existing driveway, there's no changes proposed, so that's mainly where the staging is going to happen. And then we will certainly address more the concerns with the new permit condition as far as where parking will happen. Most likely, there's public parking just down the way at Hidden Beach there, and that's where the contractors parked when they worked on there. All these homes in this area have been worked on recently for many years, and that's typically where the contractors park, so that will probably be the main parking area for contractors, other than in the driveway when that's available. The sewer easement, we have been in touch with IVGID regarding this, and received guidance from them regarding proper clearance to ensure that we will have no impact on their full use of the easement. And it's very similar to the bridge that's proposed over the easement is very similar to the bridge in the adjacent home next door. So we don't anticipate any impacts to the sewer service, and we are in coordination with IVGID on that. And then we would just like to assure the neighbor that there will be no construction, both neighbors. So actually on the north side, there's a 30-foot right of way before, so that state lands property is actually 30 feet away. There's a strip of land in between that's owned by Washoe County, or maintained. It's a Washoe County right of way. But regardless, all of the neighbors, Washoe County, Nevada Division of State Lands, or State of Nevada, and Finney's, and everyone else along the way, there's absolutely no intention to impact them with, no construction vehicles or staging or of any kind will be proposed in front of their properties or on their properties. I think that's all the comments, and I don't know if who wants to speak next.
Well, thank you, Corinne. And I have one additional question. So I think that the comment was not necessarily saying that there might be an interference with the sewer easement, but that there might be, you know, a disruption in service to the other properties. I'm not sure how that would arise, but I wonder if you could address that.
Sure. Yeah, there would be no interruption. There's no interruption to service of any of the adjacent properties. There should be no interruption of service with regard to construction of this home. Like similar to, you know, homes need to hook up to sewer, but to the best of my knowledge, it doesn't impact the adjacent properties having continual service. Then this home has existing sewer service, and I think it may even, I don't know if an upgrade is proposed to the line size or not, but very likely, I mean, it's very likely it's not proposed, since it was probably done in 2008. So there should be absolutely no impact to no temporary or any kind of impact to the sewer service of any of the neighboring properties. I can confirm that for sure with IVGID, but that's my understanding.
All right, thank you. Are there any other representatives of the project applicant who would like to speak? Seeing none. So I don't have any additional questions now, but I would like to open this up for public
Marcia,
comment.
can I interrupt
Yes.
for a second. Aubrey Powell has her hand raised. Is she the
Yes,
attorney? Oh,
She
yes.
is our attorney.
Okay, oh yes, that would be great.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I was raising my hand desperately, hoping someone would call on me. First off, I'm Aubrey Powell. I am one of the legal counsel representatives for the applicant. I'm from the firm Womble Bond Dickinson. And I'm just really going to speak on the public comment that came in from the neighbors, the Finneys, specifically related to a request for issuing bonds. And I don't even know, Ms. Birch, if this is something that you're considering, but I just want to state on the record on behalf of the applicants that we think that that's very unnecessary. You know, typically the very foundation of requesting a bond is for ensuring against the existence of risks or hazards related to construction or development activities. And I think we've established here that there will be no construction activity, no staging, no construction vehicles, none of that will be happening on the Finney's property. And so to request a bond would honestly just place a financial burden, an administrative burden on the applicants when there's really no basis for that request. So I just wanted to get that on the record that we do not agree with that request, and we would appeal that.
All right, thank you. All right, so I will go ahead and open this up for public comment. Jessica, if you could start in the room and then go online.
Anybody in the room would like to comment on this item, please do so now. There are no comments in the room, so I will head to online. If any member of the public would like to comment on this item, please raise your hand now by clicking on the raise hand button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. We do have one hand raised. Jeanette, please go ahead with your comment.
Hi, this is John Finney. I'm Jeanette's husband. We together own the property to the south there, and my primary concern is the staging. I mean, it was incredibly difficult to stage everything for our house and extended the time it took for another year or two. But we had the kind support. Our neighbors to the south allowed us to use their yard for staging and cranes and things of that nature. On the subject property here, they have a 2-car garage, which is blocked in by 2 parking spots on the surface and on the parking pad. And what I'd like to see is a plan that shows where they're going to be taking deliveries from lumber, steel, cranes, demolition, dump trucks, all of the heavy equipment deliveries, all of that stuff has to go on here. They have their they have they have their two parking spots there, which are big enough for two SUVs, but not much more. So how are they going to do deliveries of heavy equipment, staging, lumber, steel, etc., pour concrete? I'd like to see a staging plan.
I don't believe that that's been prepared. Maybe Corinne can address that?
Correct. We have, we've complied with the typical TRPA request for construction staging and access to call it out as where that location is proposed, which is the driveway. And in addition, the garage area. And that is typically sufficient in my experience, but I understand a condition will be added to the permit and we'll be happy to provide additional details.
Okay, all right, and so I'm gonna ask Jen a question. In thinking about preparing that additional condition that was initially requested by Nevada Division of State Lands, will that plan include this level of detail? You know, where deliveries will be, you know, where the deliveries will occur and that sort of thing?
Jessica, would you be able to pull up the condition? I had emailed that to you and Marcia. And I can also read it for the record.
Maybe Jessica can put it on the screen.
She's gonna pull it up.
Okay,
And while Jessica is working on that, I just wanted to make note that attachment R are standard conditions for any residential projects. We do have some language regarding the disposal of materials, and any excavation that happens on site does need to be hauled to a disposal site approved by the TRPA compliance inspector. So that is a standard condition that exists today.
all right. Thank you.
Marcia, are you
Sure thing.
seeing the conditions?
Oh, I see it. Jessica, is there a way to make that a little bigger?
Let's see here. Make it bigger.
Can you do Control Plus on your laptop?
Let's try it. No, it's not working on the shared.
All right, so why don't we go ahead and leave it on the screen? And Jen, would you mind reading that, please?
Sure thing. So the condition that we would recommend to be added would be condition 3K. And the condition would read, prior to acknowledgement, the applicant shall provide TRPA with a construction plan, including any construction related staging or storing of materials, access, and parking. The applicant shall include a notation on the plan set that any adjacent parcels, including urban lots owned by the Nevada Division of State Lands, shall not be used for any construction related purposes without consent by the property owner. The applicant is responsible for any other construction authorization and traffic mitigation required by other agencies.
Okay, thank you. So my suggestion, and I can get a response from the applicant now, is that we include in the first sentence where it says that it will include construction related staging and storing of materials, access, and parking, that we include deliveries.
Yes, that's agreeable.
I'm making
Okay.
a note of that, and we can add that to the permit.
Thank you. Thank you, Jen. All right, Mr. Finney, I didn't mean to interrupt your flow, and you're welcome to continue your comments.
There, but maybe having tech difficulties.
And he's on mute as well.
Yeah, I keep asking him to unmute. He's got to unmute himself.
Was that John just speaking?
This was Graham, St. Michelle.
Oh, thank you.
John, I think you're muted, so if you could unmute, you could continue your comments.
Okay, there we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, what I was saying is that I think most people in this village are familiar with how narrow the stretch of Highway 28 is out here going to Hidden Beach. And just as a note, there's no parking on there's no shoulder parking to the north of this property. It's a steep drop off to the lake and zero there. 2 properties south, there are say about 5 or 6 spaces for cars that are, I think, frankly, eroding the whole place. Is not paved. But those are during the summertime contended for very early in the day by the people going to Hidden Beach. And so we're really confined to the property. And one factor is a continual parade of pedestrians going to the beach and back. But the other is the highway traffic, especially at rush hour these days, that you can't block Highway 28 for more than a minute or so. It just doesn't work. So that's, I would like to see the staging plan, but I'm just saying, looking at it, we were able to stage construction for our property because our neighbor to the south here, Connie Steinheimer, generously allowed us to use the front yard of their double lot for staging, cranes, delivery trucks, material storage, things like that, which was very, very kind of them. But right now, these people have no adjacent property that can even offer that. I mean, our home is built to within 8 feet of the boundary, the 8-foot setback, and they're proposing an 8-foot setback. So there's only going to be 16 feet between these 2 buildings, and that doesn't provide any parking or any real staging material, a place for staging materials. It's quite steep from the first 50 feet down from the road. So as I said, there are few alternatives for parking. So I appreciate you adding the delivery condition, because there's a constant flow of trucks building a project like this size, and you have to get bulldozers and cranes and other heavy equipment in and out. And of course, during demolition, you've got to have a parade of dump trucks to fill up with the debris. So it's just, I think it's going to be a real challenge for this neighborhood. There's really no parking here at all. Thank you.
All righty, thank you. So, Jen, I just have one additional question. In the staff report, I noticed that there was a reference to I think it's the county that works with them regarding sort of traffic controls if that becomes necessary. Maybe Corinne could address that.
Sure. Yes, we have been in touch with Nevada Department of Transportation regarding any permitting requirements associated with this project, and they will be requiring a temporary occupancy permit. We're not proposing any work in the right of way, but since this project is accessed via State Route 28, we do need to have a typical standard traffic control shoulder closure agreements in place with them, so that when construction is occurring, they're giving us guidelines for how best to manage the traffic. So we have that permit ready to go, and we'll be submitting it when appropriate in coordination with that agency.
All righty,
And
thank you.
Marcia, if I could just add, Corinne did provide a summary of that coordination with NDOT to TRPA staff.
Okay, thank you. All right, so are there any other public comments?
It looks like a hand was raised on Jeanette's iPad again, and I'm not sure if that was an error. Give me a second here. If any member of the public would like to comment on this item, please raise your hand now by clicking on the raise hand button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. The only hand raised is Jeanette again, but he's still muted.
Okay, so John, your hand is raised, but you're muted, and I just want to make sure that you've provided all of the comments you intended.
Yes, thank you. I was muted. I would like to be copied on the staging plan when it's arrived at. And to be guaranteed that we will have access to our house. So if they close Route 128 or close the 28, if they close the southbound lane coming to our house and block our driveway for deliveries, then that's going to be really unacceptable.
I want to talk about the view.
That wants to say something.
I want to talk about the views, which was dismissed by Corinne. The view from our carriage house is very important. When we built our home, we via TRPA review and requirement, we moved our house 5 feet back from the lakeshore zone, which was a good thing in retrospect. But they got a better view. Now they are proposing, by building a sky bridge, that they're going to erase our view from my apartment. So having lived there for several months at a time when our air conditioning is out, we value that view very, very much. They never had a view. Alyssa and Ryan never had a view because right directly to our south is Jeff and Connie Steinheimer's house, Austin Mill Steinheimer. So they can't complain that we ruined their view, but I am complaining that they are ruining our view, and I'd like to have that addressed.
May I,
so-
Marcia?
Yes.
This is Graham St. Michel. I'm general counsel for TRPA. Understand the concerns there with your private view. However, TRPA doesn't, in our permitting requirements, we don't get in the business of protecting private view sheds. We protect scenic quality of the lakeshore, but we don't protect private views. It's just not part of our permitting process. The special use requirements have a neighborhood compatibility component, and this is a sort of addition or rebuild to a residential house in a residential neighborhood. So that would meet the special use requirements, and the private view is just really not something that we really take into account.
Well, okay, Graham, I appreciate your comments, but at the time that the Dixons, now Rara, rebuilt their home, they had a parking pad and no garage. They went through, I don't know, 2 years of fighting with TRPA because it was in the scenic corridor, and it still is in the scenic corridor. So from that perspective, TRPA does get involved in these issues. Comments?
Well, normally we don't really get into back and forth. I was just responding to provide Marcia with sort of the staff's position and defense of the staff's position. I don't know that we want to get into a back and forth here over the issues that you experienced in the past. I think that I heard our TRPA planner talk about the findings being made, that it was within the scenic findings were made. So I would refer to probably Jen Self and
Yes, but
the staff
that would be the scenic findings as amended when they built their home in 2007. I lived through it. I lived through that terrible construction process where they ruined my driveway by putting a dumpster in my driveway and cracked the concrete. So TRPA is in the business of this.
Ask about a bond. So Graham, one more thing.
we're concerned about our fence being damaged. Our fence is entirely on our property, our fence between us and them. And even when they were building the small house in 2007, their contractor asked us not to put up a fence because one, they used our yard, but two, he said, well, we're sure to damage it, a brand new fence. So now we've got a relatively new fence, 4 years old, and
50 grand.
entirely on our property, and we'd like to ask
Maybe
for
a
a bond
bond.
to pay for any damage to that.
That's really another thing. I mean, I'll sort of touch on that. You know, I think you probably appreciate that if there's damage to your property by virtue of somebody else and your neighbor, that doing some sort of activity and they interfere with your property, they trespass or they cause damage. I mean, that's a remedy that you have with that party. Again, it's not something that we're not going to sort of deny a permit or speculate about on the
Okay,
potential
well,
for
we've been
damage.
dealing with Alyssa's father for 30 years, and he does not honor his word. So we need a bond.
We also don't do bonds for, when bonds are not as somebody said here, bonds are not a normal requirement for a permit like this. And I don't believe that we would do a bond just to protect, that would be like a bond to protect some neighboring private property. That's not what we do. It's usually a bond would be in some unusual circumstances, somebody said, where there's like sort of a public impact, or we need for certain, enforcement.
Graham, I have a $50,000 bond for trees on my property with TRPA. So you do bonds. So let's get this resolved before you issue a permit.
All right, so I think with respect to the fence, I have heard, I've heard the information that is necessary. And I noticed that Aubrey Powell has her hand raised, or she did.
Yes, I did. I just wanted to, as legal counsel to the applicants, I just wanted to chime in. One, I already spoke our piece about the bond, and I think Graham even said that this would not be an appropriate request on TRPA's part to request a bond between two private parties, and it would set a very dangerous precedent moving forward, I think, for TRP to engage in that exercise, and it sounds like you guys are on the same page. But I just would like to say we've met the findings under TRPA code. If it's not clear enough, there's obviously a long history between these two neighbors. But I do feel like we're this public comment is kind of getting off track a little bit, and I just want to say on the applicant's behalf, we have met all the findings. We will meet all the conditions of approval. We will provide the staging plans and do everything that TRPA has asked of us. But at the end of the day, I just don't think that the Finneys are going to be happy with this project. And I don't want us to. I really don't want this to turn into a back and forth between neighbors who have a relationship outside of this room. And that I just want to say that piece for the record.
Thank you. All right, so I have one point of clarification that I want to cover with Jen before we check to see if there are any other comments. So in the staff report, it does talk about the fact that at least a portion of the project is visible from the Scenic Highway Unit 26. And that is in attainment, and that I just wanted to hear you confirm for me that this project is consistent with our scenic standards there with that highway unit.
Thing, and I would actually like to invite Arlo to speak. Is Arlo still on the line?
Arlo is still on the line.
Wonderful. Arlo, would you like to comment on this item?
Yes, hi, Arlo Stockham. I was outsourced review planner. Yes, it is in conformance with the scenic highway standards. They're relocating an existing propane tank out of the 20-foot setback. They do have the garage addition within the 20-foot setback. It meets all the necessary findings for that approval. And really overall is a project that's very similar to the neighbors, just a little bit smaller.
All right, thank you, Arlo. So Jessica, can we check online to see if there are any other members of the public who would like to comment?
Any other member of the public would like to comment on this item, please raise your hand now by clicking on the raised hand button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. There are no hands raised to comment.
All right. Thank you, Jessica. So I am going to close the public hearing on this item. And I have taken into consideration all of the comments and the responses that were provided here today, and the new condition that's been proposed by staff to include in the permit, with the addition of deliveries in that new condition 3K. And so I am going to go ahead and take action on this item. I am going to approve the required findings, including a finding of no significant effect, and approve the proposed project based upon the staff summary and record evidence, subject to the conditions in the draft permit as amended during this hearing. All right. Thank you, everyone, for your comments and participation. I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 2:46 p.m.
Thank you.